You know what makes me nervous? Announcing to thousands of people on the internet that I'm going to be attempting to walk 2,600 miles and asking them to follow along. Yeah, that makes me nervous. And there's also some other things that make me nervous. And so in this video, I'm going to be going over 5 reasons why I might fail my Pacific Crest Trail thru hike attempt. 5 things that make me nervous. Yeah. Let's do it. Obviously, a thru hike of this length is extremely difficult. The vast majority of people who attempt the Appalachian Trail or the Pacific Crest Trail fail. And just because I was successful on the Appalachian Trail does not mean I'm going to be successful on the PCT. In fact, I know of multiple people personally who have completed a long distance thru hike and then gone to try another one and failed. It happens all the time. I don't want to fail. I don't want these 5 things I'm about to go over to have me fail. I just drink every time I say fail. You might be like, Kyle, why are you being so negative? Like, you got this amazing experience coming up. You should be pumped. Why are you just like being like such a downer? Like, you're gonna be fine. And I'm not making this video because I'm like not excited. I'm not making this video because I don't want to do the hike. Obviously I do, but I'm making this video because I'm trying to be humble about this stuff. And thinking a lot about how I might fail was something I did before my Appalachian Trail thru hike. I was like very aware of the fact that it was gonna be hard as shit, which I guess it's not very hard. What am I? I was very aware that it was gonna be tough going into the AT. I used that to humble myself. I used that to prepare myself mentally, and it ended up working out pretty good. Yeah! So the first thing that I am very nervous about on the PCT, the first thing that might cause me to fail, haha, drink, bit, is the desert heat, because my start date's in May. It's a pretty late start date, and yeah, it's gonna be hot. And by the way, guys, if you wanna watch me potentially fail on this hike or hopefully succeed, you gotta subscribe to the channel. A bunch of people have been subscribing over the past few days once Flossie and I announced that we were gonna be doing this. So if you haven't hit subscribe yet, go ahead and do it. Maybe I'll regret saying this if any of these 5 things is true and I end up failing. I will cry, and then you'll get to see me cry at least, so, you know. So the desert heat, like I said, my start date is in May. That was just the date that Flossie and I could get. Probably would have started a little bit earlier if it was possible, but that's just how the permits work. Like, you gotta go when you can go. And so it's gonna be hot. I've never been to any of the states on the PCT before. I mean, I have been to the desert when I was a lot younger, but I definitely haven't hiked in the desert ever. I live in Vermont, and it's pretty cold out most of the time here. Maybe not most of the time, but it's cold in Vermont, okay? Like, most people know this. That's not true, actually. A lot of people don't even know where Vermont is, but it's a place, and it's cold, and so I'm not used to the heat. On my Appalachian Trail thru hike, I was hiking through the south in the middle of the summer, like through Virginia and stuff in July, and it was absolutely brutal. However, that's a different kind of heat, from my understanding. It was wicked humid, and I've said this 1,000 times in videos, to the point where every time I bring it up now, I say exactly what I just said. Like, oh, I've said this 1,000 times in the videos. But I was sweating so much. I was chafing like you've never even seen before. It was absolutely terrible. And I really don't want that to happen on the PCT. I'm thinking maybe since it'll be a drier heat, I'm hoping that'll make me sweat less. But at the same time, there's also gonna be 2 different factors that come into play in terms of the heat going through the desert in California. First of which is just the sun exposure. Obviously on the AT, even when it was super hot, I was in the woods. So I was never like super exposed to the sun. It was very rare that I would be hiking in the sun for an extended period of time. At least I got some shade, right? But on the PCT in the desert, dude, it's gonna be just blaring sun. Obviously, I'm gonna be prepared for this. I'm gonna have a sun hoodie. I'm gonna be in California, so hella sunscreen, dude. Is that how they talk there? I don't think so, but umbrellas, maybe. I'm kind of leaning no towards the umbrella just because I'm gonna have a camera and some other, I don't know, maybe I'll get an umbrella at some point if I want it, but I'm probably gonna start without it. Like, I'm gonna do things to be prepared for the sun, obviously, but at the end of the day, I'm still gonna be, you know, hiking through extremely exposed terrain all day in really hot weather. And that's something that I haven't done before. So that makes me nervous. And then the other thing is, I think that it's gonna be even a little bit hotter temperature-wise than I saw on the AT. Like, maybe this is just fear-mongering, or maybe I just don't know this. Maybe I haven't done my research enough. I still got time, okay? You know, it's all right. I'll figure it out, but I think it might even be a little bit hotter in the desert than I saw at any point on the AT, even in the South. I've heard it can be like over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't think I've ever been in 100 degrees Fahrenheit in my entire life. So basically, I'm gonna have to hit the sauna. Is that a good idea to train? I just heard that in the Backpacker Radio podcast. Maybe I should try that. Probably not gonna try that. Let's get on to thing that could cause me to fail, drink number 2. This one has to do with water, or lack thereof. But before I get into that, since we're talking about water in a second here, I gotta say a huge thank you to this video's sponsor, Drink Element. I was just talking a second ago about how much I sweat. And this stuff right here, Drink Element's electrolyte drink mix, I'm telling you, this is gonna be essential on the PCT. They've sent me like boxes of this stuff, so I'm completely loaded up, I'm ready to go. I'm gonna be using this to replenish my electrolytes when I'm out there, when I'm sweating. And if you're gonna be hiking anywhere that you're gonna be sweating a lot, I highly recommend that you try some of this stuff out in order to replace your electrolytes. Drink Element's actually gonna make it pretty easy for you too, because what you can do is you can go to drinkelement.com/KyleHatesHiking. That's drinklmnt.com/KyleHatesHiking. And you can get a free sample pack of 8 of their flavors. It's gonna be awesome. You're gonna get citrus salt, you're gonna get raspberry salt, you're even gonna get some crazy flavors like chocolate salt and mango chili. And like I said, this is a free sample pack, so you just gotta pay the cost of shipping, super cheap. Drink Element believes in their products so much that instead of just like trying to get a cash grab and just get a bunch of people to buy it first, they're gonna give it to you for free just to show you how awesome it is. You don't see many companies doing that, which is why I really, really like them. Another reason why I really like them too, this stuff is really, really good for you. So many electrolyte drink mixes out there that you're gonna find at like the grocery stores and stuff are just full of sugar and all this nonsense. That's not the case here. It tastes amazing, and I'm so grateful that they've been continuing to support this content. So guys, go get your free sample pack. Let's talk about water on the PCT and how it's scary. Obviously, I can't help but compare this PCT thing to my experience on the Appalachian Trail, and on the AT, water is not an issue, pretty much with no exceptions. Maybe a couple small ones, but it's nothing like the PCT. My understanding is there's a lot of long water carries. I'm talking like 10 to 20 miles I've heard before. And I don't even know how frequent these are, but I know I'm hiking through the freaking desert, dude. Like it's the desert. There's not much water in the desert. And so I've never really had to carry water for more than like 5 or 6 miles, which is, I know that sounds crazy to people that are used to hiking in the desert, but that's the truth. I've done pretty much all my hiking on the East Coast where water is not an issue. And so I am a little bit nervous about water carries. I'm worried about how much water storage capacity I should take. I don't know, I'm thinking like 5 liters, 6 liters, like maybe, like, I don't know. Leave a comment with how much water capacity I should have on the PCT. I'm worried about what I should take for that capacity. Like, should I have, I don't know, 5 water bottles with me? Should I only have 2 and then carry a bunch of like water bladders or pouches? Like, I don't know. I'm gonna make my best guess before I go out there, and then I'm probably gonna have to adjust it as I go on. So, and the third thing that makes me nervous about the PCT, the third reason why I might fail, and this is probably the most likely reason why, is I'm worried about injuries. Because injuries are like one of the, if not the most common reason why people quit through hikes. Or maybe quit's not even the right word, because if you're injured, I mean, I guess you are quitting, but it's like, even if you don't want to quit, you don't have a choice. Because like some of these other things, it's like the desert heat, yeah, that could be really tough, and I guess it could lead to an injury if I get like heat exhaustion or whatever, which is definitely a real threat out there. But at the end of the day, like, you can adapt to the desert. It might be uncomfortable, it might suck, but I know that I can like hike early in the morning and take breaks in the hottest part of the day, do some night hiking, just hike slower. I don't know, there's ways to get around it, but if you hurt yourself out there, there's nothing you can do. If you can't hike, you can't hike. And so I'm very, very nervous about injuries, and I was very nervous about this as well on my Appalachian Trail through hike. And it really wasn't until I was about halfway done that I finally realized, like, okay, like, I think my body at this point is gonna be able to handle it. So this is definitely something I'm gonna be worried about. Of course, there are things you can do to like lessen the chance of an injury, and trust me, I'm taking this very seriously. Training, obviously, I know a bunch of you are excited for a PCT training video, and that is gonna be coming soon. Flossie and I are both gonna be hitting the trail in much better shape than we were on the AT, and I was actually in pretty good shape. I trained a little bit before the AT, but it's gonna be like much more intense, like much better this time around. So another thing you can do to mitigate injuries is to just moderate your pace well, if that makes sense. Obviously, if you start the trail and you're just ripping like 40-mile days right off the bat, then you know, higher chance of injury than if you start and you're just kind of cruising a little bit, but you're taking it nice and slow and being careful. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to find like a happy medium between those two extremes because we're starting late. Like, we're not just gonna start ripping like 30-mile days right from the beginning, but at the same time, we have to keep a pretty good pace. And so we also don't have time to spend like 2 weeks just dicking around, getting used to the desert and getting our trail legs and stuff. Again, this goes back to why we're gonna try to start the trail in such good shape. That's gonna be really important. So it's gonna be tough to find that balance, I think. I'm thinking maybe we'll start out like very slow the first couple days, maybe just do like 10 to 15 miles a day, which at this point, I feel like we're pretty comfortable doing. We've done that a lot, but then again, desert, new terrain, who the f knows? And then after that, we'll have to ramp it up fairly quickly and just kind of start cruising. So we'll see what happens. I am worried about injuries though, and I'm gonna be doing everything I can to avoid them. The fourth thing I'm worried about is fire closures. I hate to say it, but I feel like they're basically inevitable at this point on the PCT. It seems like California and Oregon and Washington just smoke a fat doobie and start burning up every single year at this point. And so it's really not a matter of if, it's more a matter of when and where. In fact, as I mentioned in the previous video, I already know there's a section in Oregon that's gonna be closed still when we get to it. I'm very worried about fire closures because I don't wanna skip miles if I don't have to. I wanna be able to hike continuous footsteps. I wanna be able to experience the entire PCT. But if we get to a section of like 50 miles of trail that's closed and the only way to walk around it is to go on highways where there's cars buzzing you, there's no sidewalk, it's like there's nowhere to camp. It's like, what do you do in that circumstance? And obviously we have a few options. You can just skip around it. If the trail's closed, obviously we're not gonna hike on the trail if it's closed. So we'll either have to skip around it, and then it's like, if you do that, do you come back later? Does it not matter? It matters to us, but like, it's like, if we have to skip a section in like, I don't know, say Central California, are there fires there? I don't even know. And then we finish, do we go all the way back to Central California just to hike another 50 miles? Like, do we flip-flop? Do we go up to the border and then hike south so that hopefully the section's open by the time we get back and that just disrupts the whole hike? Do we road walk around it and risk getting hit by a car, someone who's smoking doobies on the California freeway and just freaking flattens it? It's like, what do you do? I don't know. And we're gonna talk about this some more, me and Flossie. We're gonna try to come up with a plan, but I really feel like it's just gonna be very quick decisions while we're out there. And I'm worried that we're gonna make a bad decision in that circumstance, or maybe not a bad decision, but just a decision that we will regret. So it just is what it is. It's part of the PCT. It's gonna happen. We're gonna have to deal with it somehow. So let me know in the comments if you have hiked the PCT before, or if you're planning on hiking it this year. I know there's a bunch of people that subscribe that are gonna be hiking this year as well. How are you planning on dealing with the fire closures? I don't know. We got time to figure it out, but it makes me nervous. And this next thing that I am worried about, this next thing that might cause me to fail the PCT, is just the timeline. Again, we're starting late. I feel like a lot of these problems come back to our start date, unfortunately, which maybe I shouldn't write this off. Christ, we haven't even freaking gotten out there yet, but the timing of it all makes me nervous because we're gonna have to hustle. And let's say we get through most of the trail fine, no injuries, I don't die in the desert, you know, we don't get hit by a car road walking around fire closures. Then we get to Washington and it's September most likely by the time we get there, and a freaking snowstorm comes in. It's like, even though we hiked as fast as we could and made it up to that point, we still might not be able to finish because of something like that. And I know this happens to people. Like, again, going back to that Backpacker Podcast Radio, what the f? Backpacker Radio podcast I was talking about, they were talking about in that episode how there's like these snowstorms in Washington in September. Like, that's right when we're gonna be finishing. I know that people have gotten stranded before, people get rescued, like some really bad stuff can happen. I'm very worried about this. I think all that we can do really is just, you know, try to keep a good pace. Some of you guys watch IBTAT probably. He got absolutely slammed at the end of his thru hike on the PCT with snow, and like, if it comes down to it, so long as it's not like blatantly dangerous, like obviously we'll hike in some snow, we'll hike in some cold weather if we have to at the very end, but I don't really want to do that. It was cold as hell at the end of my AT thru hike, and it didn't even snow. So I can't even imagine what it would be like in those circumstances, but The weather's out of our control. All that we can control is just getting ourselves there as quickly as we can, which kind of sucks to have that hanging over your head the whole hike, like, oh, I gotta get there in time before the snow comes. Although, to be honest, that's kind of what it was like on oh my God, I can't talk. My AT through hike. So at least it's something I have some experience with, and it's not the best, but I made it work that time. So maybe we'll make it work this time. I don't know. Clearly I'm nervous about a lot of stuff. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do. All I can do is get out there and give it my best shot. Oh, and by the way, I want to show you guys something. Where is it? I think it's back here. This right here. The subscribe button, dude. You gotta smash that because clearly we have like so much going on with this PCT hike. I'm super excited, and despite these things that I'm nervous about, despite these reasons why I will probably fail, maybe probably isn't, I shouldn't say that, dude. Like, despite the reasons why I might fail, we're still gonna be going out there, we're still gonna be having fun, we're still gonna be making content. So if you wanna follow along, you should definitely do that. Hit that subscribe button. Also, you gotta follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to ramp up my Insta game a little bit, so at Kyle Hates Hiking. Go follow me there. Go send me a DM. Send me pictures of your feet or whatever kind of bullshit you guys like to do, fucking weirdos. Actually, don't do that, please. That's it. PCT 2022. We're getting ready. We're gonna send it, hopefully. Hopefully I don't die in the desert.